Today is Monday, April 12th. What to know about two controversial traffic stops. One left a man dead and sparked clashes between police and demonstrators. The other led to an officer fired and state officials outraged. Also, two new trends in the coronavirus pandemic, why both vaccinations and hospitalizations in the U.S. are going up. Plus, the votes are in, what the results show in a closely watched union election at the nation's second largest employer, how Facebook now hopes to take on the trendy app Clubhouse, and a historic first at this year's Masters. Welcome to The Newsworthy. All the day's news in around 10 minutes. Fast, fair, fun, and on the go. I'm Erica Mandy. Thanks so much for being here. You ready? Let's do this. In the U.S., more and more Americans are getting their COVID-19 vaccines. But at the same time, new cases and hospitalizations are going up. We'll start with the record-breaking 4.6 million vaccine doses given out just this past Saturday alone. So far, overall, about 46% of American adults have received at least one shot, and more than 28% are fully vaccinated. Of course, that also means more than 70% of American adults are not fully vaccinated. And the U.S. has seen the fourth week in a row now of new cases and hospitalizations going up. The CDC points to lifted restrictions and new coronavirus strains. Remember, the largest outbreaks are happening in states like Michigan and Minnesota, where there's been an especially high number of cases linked to the more contagious strain that was first found in the UK. This surge is different from the others, though, since this time hospital patients are younger and healthier than before. Most American seniors are already vaccinated, but younger people are still getting caught up. And perhaps that's at least why the daily death toll in the U.S. keeps going down, despite increasing case numbers. There's fresh outrage now over two controversial traffic stops. Let's first talk about one that happened in the town of Brooklyn Center, Minnesota, just yesterday, about 10 miles north of Minneapolis. A police officer shot and killed a 20-year-old black man named Dante Wright. Hours later, hundreds of protesters gathered and marched to police headquarters where things got heated. Demonstrators pushed past police tape and confronted officers wearing riot gear. Some people in the crowd broke squad cars' windshields and vandalized signs. Officers used tear gas and rubber bullets to get the crowd to leave, but it's not clear if anyone was arrested. Some looters also targeted a Walmart, a nearby shopping mall, and other stores. There were some peaceful protesters as well. They lit candles and wrote messages in chalk on the street where Wright died. For now, Brooklyn Center police aren't saying much about the shooting itself, just that officers pulled Wright over for some kind of traffic violation, then found out there was a warrant in his name. And when officers tried to arrest Wright, he got back in his car and one officer shot him. Police say the officers were wearing body cameras, and they've asked state investigators to look into this. Virginia's governor, attorney general, and other officials are now calling a different traffic stop disturbing and unacceptable. Video has been circulating online showing police officers confronting a Black and Latino military officer during a traffic stop in the town of Windsor, Virginia, which is about 30 miles west of downtown Norfolk. The Army Lieutenant, Karen Nazario, was pulled over for not having tags displayed on his new SUV. He had just the temporary dealer plate. Eventually, Nazario was released without being charged. But video shows before that happened, two police officers with their guns drawn ordered Nazario to get out of his car. Nazario responded, quote, "I'm honestly afraid to get out," to which one of the officers replied, quote, "You should be." One of the officers is also seen pepper spraying him and kicking him. Nazario is then handcuffed as police search his car. This all happened back in December, but the video is making the rounds online now as Nazario is now suing the officers involved. In the lawsuit, Nazario says he first saw the flashing lights while driving on a dark road, so he drove about a mile to a gas station before he stopped so he could be in a well-lit area. Then immediately, he says the officers pointed their guns at him and started shouting orders. Since then, the police department says it disciplined the two officers and ordered them to take extra training and then decided to fire one of the officers. State authorities in Virginia will be investigating, and so is the local NAACP. The British royal family is now mourning the death of Prince Philip. He was 99 years old. The Duke of Edinburgh, as he was officially known, has been married to Queen Elizabeth and been by her side throughout her entire 69-year reign. Philip is also being remembered for his career in the Royal Navy during World War II and for many charitable ventures. Coronavirus restrictions in the UK mean Philip's funeral will be smaller than it would have been otherwise. It's going to be a family service only with fewer than 30 people. Prince Harry has already flown back to the UK to be with his family, and this is actually his first trip back since stepping down as a senior royal last year. His wife Meghan did not make the trip with him, though. She's pregnant and says her doctors advised against it. The funeral services will be televised this Saturday. The music world is saying goodbye to an iconic hip-hop artist who also died on Friday. DMX passed away in the hospital a week after having a heart attack. He was only 50. DMX is known for delivering his raps in a growl. He toured with rappers like Jay-Z, Method Man, and Redman. And he became the first artist in the history of the Billboard 200 chart to reach #1 with each of his first 5 albums. Fellow hip-hop artists have been sharing tributes all weekend. For example, Eve called him one of the most special people I have ever met, and Nas called him God's poet in an Instagram post. Memorial plans have not yet been announced. President Biden released his first budget proposal, and it's now up for debate in Congress. It shows where Biden wants to spend the government's money starting on October 1st. And as The Hill puts it, the proposal is likely to kick off a long, drawn-out fight among lawmakers. For now, though, it's at least a look at the Biden administration's priorities. The White House is calling for more funding for cancer research, schools in high-poverty areas, renewable energy, and a lot more. One main area of disagreement, though, is over defense spending. It would go up by 1.7%. That's less than what Republicans were calling for, but more than what some Democrats wanted. And overall, some Republicans say Biden's whole budget plan is too big and that it gives the federal government too much influence over Americans' lives. But remember, it's not up to Biden to really write up bills anyway, so these are all just recommendations. Now it's up to lawmakers to start working on their own proposals. And to be clear, this is separate from President Biden's $2.3 trillion economic plan that includes infrastructure investments. Biden is meeting with both Democratic and Republican lawmakers about that plan today. All right, more news is coming up, but first, this episode is brought to you by Fitbod. So I've always been easily bored by doing the same workout over and over. It sort of kills my workout motivation. But at the same time, I need a plan and I need an extra push from someone else. So Fitbod really fills both of those needs. It creates a personalized fitness program that continually adapts with new exercises and dynamic intensity that adjusts to how you're progressing. Fitbod knows no workout is one size fits all. In fact, their algorithm uses data and analytics to help you build on your last workout and maximize results without overworking muscles either. And I really like that it's also a customized workout based on, 1, your goals, and 2, the equipment or lack of equipment you have handy. So you may just want body weight routines if you don't have a lot of equipment at home, or maybe you want exercises with just some hand weights and a band like I do, or get guidance for a full-on gym routine. So pick up the pace on your fitness journey with Fitbod today, and your future self will thank you. Get 25% off your membership at fitbod.me/newsworthy. That's a 25% off at fitbod.me/newsworthy. Okay, now back to the news. The votes are in, and workers at an Amazon warehouse in Alabama decided they did not want to join a labor union. After months of campaigning on both sides, followed by weeks of voting and hours of counting, the no votes won by a margin of more than 2-1. Out of about 3,200 votes cast, only 738 people voted in favor of unionization. And remember, this has been one of the most high-profile union votes in recent history, with a lot of other companies and workers watching closely. And we're talking about the nation's second largest private employer here. But the debate is not entirely settled yet. The federal agency, called the National Labor Relations Board, has to certify the results before they're considered final. And the union the workers would have joined is challenging the results. The union argues Amazon illegally used intimidation tactics to persuade workers to vote a certain way. CNBC reports Amazon held mandatory anti-union meetings, hung flyers around the warehouse, and created a website warning about the downsides of unions, like having to pay dues. But Amazon says its tactics did not violate any labor laws. So the National Labor Relations Board says it will now investigate. Facebook is testing a new Q&A product called Hotline, where people can take live questions from an audience. The program is thought of as a potential rival to the audio-only social media app Clubhouse. Clubhouse lets people have live audio chats, and it's been growing in popularity in recent months. It now has about 10 million active users per week. But Facebook's Hotline is hoping to do even more. Unlike Clubhouse, Hotline uses video during discussions as well. Audience members submit questions, and other listeners can either upvote or downvote them. The host then chooses which questions to answer and can bring in audience members to take part in the conversations. A Facebook spokesperson told Reuters, Hotline hopes to attract knowledge experts as hosts who could offer insight and advice on topics like finance and healthcare. It's unclear how long Facebook intends to test Hotline before making it more widely available. Of course, other major social media companies, including Twitter and LinkedIn, are also working on new features to rival Clubhouse. Stay tuned. History was made on the green over the weekend. Hideki Matsuyama became the first Japanese man to win a major golf championship. He secured the win at the 85th Masters by a single stroke. He finished with a score of 10 under par. American Will Zalatoris came in second. This all-important win was actually Matsuyama's first victory in nearly 4 years. Afterwards, Matsuyama said he hoped to be a pioneer and inspire other Japanese athletes to compete in the sport. Golf legend Tiger Woods offered his congratulations on Twitter, saying Matsuyama's win would, quote, impact the entire golf world. Tonight marks the beginning of Ramadan for about 1.6 billion Muslims around the world. Believers are encouraged to pray, reflect, and do charity work during the month-long holiday. Muslims also fast between sunrise and sunset, meaning no eating or drinking anything between daylight hours. Ramadan lasts until May 12th. At the end of the holiday, Muslims traditionally celebrate with a 3-day festival. And that's it for your main news today, but now it's time for Money Monday, when we talk about one interesting money-related news story. But first, thanks to our sponsor, BetterHelp. What might be interfering with your happiness or stopping you from achieving your goals? There may be things you don't even realize that are getting in your way, and BetterHelp wants to help. BetterHelp will assess your needs and match you with your own licensed professional therapist to help you figure out what's going on. I love that you can message your therapist anytime. It's a little like journaling in that moment, and then you get a message back from a professional. And of course, you can set up phone or video calls to really get the full benefit of BetterHelp. Ultimately, it's about what works best for you. They have counselors who are specialized in stress, anxiety, grief, relationships, and more. And if you're ever not happy with your counselor, just change counselors anytime until you find the right fit. And you always connect in a private online environment. I want you to start living a happier life today. And as a listener, you'll get 10% off your first month by visiting betterhelp.com/newsworthy. Again, that's BetterHelp, H-E-L-P, betterhelp.com/newsworthy. Okay, now back to Money Monday. Spending on electric vehicles is going way up. Worldwide, more than 181,000 electric vehicles sold during the month of February alone. And Morgan Stanley says that number represents a 138% increase from the year before. Still, the sales in the United States are lower compared to other countries. Here, electric vehicles made up 2.3% of total vehicle sales in February. The percentage in Europe was nearly triple that, and it was even higher in China. But when you compare all those numbers to gas-powered cars, an analyst told Axios percentage-wise, electric vehicles are selling faster even here in the U.S. Even so, analysts tell the New York Times the shift from gas to electric vehicles could take many years, likely decades, since gas-powered vehicles typically last 10 years or longer. All right, thank you so much for listening today and making the newsworthy part of your daily routine. We'll be back with much more news to know tomorrow. Until then, have a great day.